Greetings and welcome back to MTG Profits. This is the podcast where we discuss magic cards in general and more specifically how to make money buying and selling magic cards. This is the 6th episode. I think I might have already mentioned that. My name is Devin and I'm joined with my host Andy.
Hi guys.
And we're just going to start right into it. We're now, I guess, a week or two out from the launch of Guilds of Ravnica, and I think we've had some time to sort of review and look at the cards, and I know Andy's been playing with the cards a bit more than I have, so that's kind of fun. And
so I think it was this past weekend was the release, right? Because the release was 2 weekends ago, so the ship dropped this past weekend.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts so far on the set as far as fun and playability? Have you been liking it? Have you been...
It seems okay. I mean, I think we've talked before about Ravnica and the multicolor aspect of it, and I think it always makes it a little more interesting when you have multicolor and these hybrid colors. A lot more combinations that work and play. Kind of that fun factor of the guilds in there. Different aspects. I'm not really sold on any of the mechanics so far, except Surveill, which seems to be very powerful.
Yeah, the Surveil does seem decent. So
and it's on a lot of cards too. It seems.
It always seems that way when you're on the receiving end of it. That's for sure.
Exactly. But I really
what again with the Surveil?
I know it's very, very brutal, especially with some of those cards.
I agree. I feel that Surveil is by far the best mechanic.
Yeah, I haven't really experimented a whole lot with the other mechanics, like the Mentor, the Undergrowth.
I think they all have potential. As always, it's going to take a little while to suss that out, but on first blush, the Surveil seems superior.
Exactly. I agree with that.
I could see the Mentor working really well if you start off fast and hard, and then the game just gets out of control pretty fast. I could see that running away with the game pretty quickly too.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that's probably my second favorite of the mechanics as far as actual usability, but Surveil seems honestly a league in its own when it comes to utility and value there. So
I agree. I think it has a lot of possibilities, even though it's pretty much the same as Scribe, but with Graveyard. But
yeah, I agree. It just does seem to be useful, and it seems to be on a lot of cards, and it really sort of helps when the games start dragging a little bit, especially like in a limited format where you're just waiting for that next top deck or whatever. You're just waiting for that one thing that can put it over the top. Because sometimes the game will stall, and then that Surveil seems to really be able to break the stall in your favor a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. But like I said, I don't think any of these other mechanics were anything terribly new or really that original. They're just more building on some of the traditional themes of +1 counters and putting things in graveyards. It's the same kind of fare.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So
we've seen I guess in between the pre-release and the release, there's been some fluctuations in the prices.
Some winners and losers.
Yeah, definitely some winners and losers. The Pelt Collector, he jumped pretty big. He went up. I think he hit maybe around 14 or so. During the
his max hype.
Yeah, and then he dropped back down. And the same thing with the the March of the Multitudes, which also jumped. It was originally at like 5 or so, and then it jumped up to now it's around 14.
Yeah,
that one really popped up.
Yeah, I guess it's instant speed, which really makes it nice. It's mythic too, so availability is a little bit more scarce. But and it has Convoke, which is always kind of nice too. So
exactly. And the Doom Whisperer, he's still up there. That's another one.
I still predict his tremendous fall.
I totally agree with you. I think he's gonna drop dramatically.
He just feels like the sort of the classic, flying beater that always seems good at first, but then sort of drops off quite a bit. I may be, I may be proven wrong, but it just doesn't seem like it's got that much staying power at that price point. So I still would recommend selling on, that would be a hard sell if I cracked one of him in a pack.
Yeah, he's been really hovering between like 16 and about 22 now.
Yeah.
For the week. I don't know, do you think it's the Surveil that's giving him that extra bump?
I don't know. You know what? He just has no drawbacks. He's a 6/6 flying trample for 5 mana. With bonus, pure upside. So I mean, everything he's got. There's nothing he has that's bad. It's just that, which sometimes that's enough, and maybe in current standard, that may work for him. But that still, to me, looks like a card that if I opened it in the pack, I'd be selling that card. So to me, that's the kind of card that it may have some life now, but the moment it gets close to rotation, boy, that's a $2 card. So it just seems like, unless you need it to play with it, then I would sell it. If you're trying to build that deck, that's a different story. But if you're if you're more of a casual player and you're not, chasing standard, that's got sell written all over it to me.
I agree. I think you should dump the demon lair as soon as you can.
That brings me to another point too, and I think I sent out a note to you about this one. Was the Walking Ballista has recently spiked up from one of those challenger decks, and it's one of the older ones. It's an Aether Revolt card, and that's another one that if you have any of those, I would be selling those immediately. So I popped out a sort of an urgent
I saw that.
An urgent report on that one, just because it's spiked, in the last, oh my goodness, I want to say in the last couple of days, I want to say it's spiked up.
Last week you said,
like $20, and it's been, as low as, it's been as low as 10, I want to say, going back to April time, so like $12, and it's been, its high point, its highest ever was around $24. And it's recently spiked back up to the low 20s. And
what's why the spike? Do we know?
It's another one of these counter cards. It enters the battlefield with the X +1/+1s. You can move the +1 counters. You can build its own, and you can sack the +1/+1 counters to deal damage to a creature or player directly. And it's found a new home, and I'm not sure where it's found its home, but it's found a home somewhere. And I think I think we're probably getting to the ceiling for this card, because it's not just in packs. Not only is it in packs that was opened pretty heavily, the Aether Revolt had reasonable, sales figures, but also it's in that green challenger deck as a one of. So I've been scrambling and scouring the eBay in the last 36 hours. I bought 3 of those pre-con decks. For about $20, and and I'm already selling those walking ballistas. So that's the kind of thing where, and the funny thing is, the way it works is no one's selling that box by itself anymore, because that box is now selling for $30. So, but what you can find is you can buy say 3 of them. It'll be the blue one, and then it'll be the vehicle rush one, which is the vehicles, and then it'll be the green one. You'll get 3 of them for $40. So, and then, if you can get it free shipping, then what you do is you parse that Walking Ballista out, you sell that for $20, and essentially you have, almost all the cards from the green deck, and then those other 2 decks for $20, So that's pretty much the definition of value right there.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Was there anything else in those other decks, or are they?
You know what?
Negligible?
There is, but there's not anything of tremendous value. I want to say there's some Fumigates and some in the blue one, and there's some lands in there that have some value. And
which deck was that Ballista in?
It's in the green one. It's called Counter Surge, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
And so that's what I've been doing. I've been getting every one of those that I can get my hands on, because I don't think that price can possibly hold. It's very, very difficult for a rare card to hold a $20 price tag, especially if it's been printed in a supplemental product that you can pull right off the shelf and know you're going to get that card.
Yeah.
So
you're right about that.
That's the classic, and you probably remember this, the Mind Seize deck. Classic. I want to say was that 2013 Commander? Yeah, it was, and that what was it? True Name Nemesis was basically the value of the whole box. So, you'd parse that out, sell it immediately, keep the remainder. And that's exactly what I'm doing with these Counter Surge decks. So I'm pulling that Ballista out, selling it, and keeping the rest, and or selling some of the others too, because there's other cards in there as well. None of them are, I want to say the next highest value is like a $5 card, but you can't beat it when you're basically getting all those cards for free.
Sure.
So
I remember for those Challenger decks, I bought several of the red one.
The red one's great, but you know what? It's funny.
Fury. Yeah.
Even now, when you look at those things, they've dropped quite a bit too. I want to say let's see, what was that one called? Hazoret Aggro. So the Hazoret Aggro, now, when you look at those cards, for example, that Walking Ballista that's $20.
Yeah.
The Chandra in the Hazoret Aggro is down to $12.
Wow.
So and the other card was what was it?
Hazoret.
The Hazoret, right?
There's Hazoret, the Chandra, and I guess to a lesser extent, I think maybe the Glorybringer as well. But that's dropped way down.
So to give you a sense for perspective, that Hazoret is $5.
Yeah.
The Chandra's $12. So doing the exact same thing, if you got that red deck for $20, which is harder to do than the green one, you'd have to sell 2 cards, and you still wouldn't make the 20 back. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's dropped quite a bit. There is some other value cards in there, though. There's some Soul Scar Mages. There's like 3 of those. And, there's a couple, even like the Abrades. They're like $2 each, and they're uncommon. So there's no way.
A little bit more work on that one if you want to recoup.
That's exactly right. But if somebody has those Counter Surge decks lying around, or if they've got those Walking Ballistas, sell now, instantly. List them tonight after you listen to this video. I've been selling them at $19.89, and they've been selling within hours of being listed. So
wow.
I listed 2 more tonight at 8 p.m. So let's see how they go.
Well, we'll see what happens with that.
I'll give you an update next week if I can remember. So that's an urgent sell advisory.
Nice.
Timing is critical, I think, on that. I think you get wise to it. So.
I guess the other thing I was going to mention too about talking about Guilds of Ravnica pricing, we talked about this last time as well, kind of speculating the Impervious Greatwurm. He was by a box promo who's originally being speculated at around $20. The Greatwurm has proven not so great as he's tanked down to about $8 now.
Yeah, I saw that. And you dumped him at 12, did you not?
I dumped him at 12.
Nice. So you're feeling the love on that a little bit.
So I was glad
to
get rid of him quickly.
Yeah. So it's tough for cards to maintain value like that. It really can be challenging. So, but at least that thing is like hard to get. The Ballista is not hard to get. So that's why the timing is critical on that sell order. Yeah, it's tough for things to hold their value. It really is.
I guess the other thing to note, the Assassin's Trophy still holding value. $23 or so.
Yeah, that's still high. The demand for it's going to be really high for a little while. I think it's so useful in so many formats. I think that will hold some value. I don't think it'll hold a $24 value.
No.
I see probably that thing should have in value over time, but it may maintain some decent. I would think it'll settle at 16 to 18 in the standard during standard. So it's just so good. It's obviously good, but I don't know that it's that much better than God, what's that other green black one that everybody always uses?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Golly.
Is it Putrefy?
The Putrefy is a 3-mana one that was in the original Ravnica. This one's from the, it exiles a target target permanent of 3 casting cost or less for 2 mana.
Okay.
And that card is from the other Return to Ravnica.
Okay.
And you know what? I'm gonna have to find out what that is. But
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that card is. You see, that card I think is honestly probably similarly good to the Assassin's Trophy.
Yeah.
The Assassin's Trophy is standard legal, of course, but
Sure.
the Abrupt Decay, that's the term, and that's what I'm looking for. The Abrupt Decay, though, has the downside of only being able to, it's still an instant, it can target only non-land permanents 3 or less. However, the Abrupt Decay has the advantage of not being counterable. So, Abrupt Decay cannot be countered.
Okay.
So, I think in Modern, I actually think Abrupt Decay is probably better than Assassin's Trophy. Because by turn, most of your threats are 3 mana or less in Modern. You know,
Okay.
by the time turn 3 or 4 starts rolling around, you know, you're playing your best cards. And so I think the non-counterability is actually more valuable than being able to hit any target. Now that's long term. Now obviously,
Sure.
you know, so the standard will keep the Assassin's Trophy high, but I definitely see it dropping once the hype wears off.
Yep.
So, you know, I still probably would sell into any Assassin's Trophies that I open. You know, in the 20s, I'm still selling them. I think the set's going to be open to quite a bit. People have, you know, more recent entrants to the game that started around, you know, Return to Ravnica time, which it was now like, what, 6 years ago now?
Yeah,
You know?
a long time.
So there's going to be a little bit of nostalgia for them, and I think and it was, again, I think Return was maybe the most opened set of all time. I think it was the most heavily printed set of all time, and which is part of the reason why you can still buy boxes today for like $80. So the other day I saw Gatecrash boxes selling for $74.
Wow,
so
pretty low.
6 years later, that's very unfortunate for people holding those boxes.
Yeah.
Myself included. I think I have 2 Gatecrash boxes and I think 5 Return to Ravnica boxes.
Okay.
But so I'm sitting on dead money. But I actually think Abrupt Decay is a better long-term card just because the formats that it's played in, the non-counterability, I think, really matters. So I would sell any Assassin's Trophy that I opened for anything over $20. I'd be happy to do it. And then I could rebuy them back later when they're cheaper.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
also a couple other mini spikes here, too. The Experimental Frenzy and the Runaway Steamkin also kind of caught my eye, too. They were both... They started off about $3 or so, and they've grown to around 5. I could see it going up to maybe 6 or so.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Experimental Frenzy is just kind of a different card. It seems like it's something that could be broken at some point somehow. It's sort of unusual. And the Steamkin definitely helps out the red decks with adding mana to
Yeah, and plus he grows a little bit pretty easily, like in a natural way that you don't have to. You're not gonna have to work hard to get him to grow.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing, the Experimental Frenzy does give red odd abilities that you don't really typically see in red, like looking at the top card.
Exactly.
You know, it's kind of an unusual ability in a red card. So we'll see how that goes.
And you know, we talk about buying boxes and selling the cards. You know, you can never really tell how much you're going to make off a box, but it really all just depends on your mythics and your rares and what's foil that comes into your box. And sometimes you open a good box, sometimes you don't. I know.
Yeah, I have a lot of bad luck opening boxes. I get duds all day. So I try to keep them sealed for that reason. I have terrible, terrible luck.
This last time I did try selling a box, and I sold the cards from the box the week before it released. And I had great cards in this box, so I got a good box. So, you know, keep in mind the booster box cost me approximately, it cost $100. In that, included with that, I mean, I had the greatwurm, I got a Legion War Boss foil, I got a Legion War Boss, I got the Runaway Steamkin, I got a March of the Multitudes, I got a Temple Garden, Lazav the Multifarious, a Pelt Collector, Steam Vents, Aurelia Exemplar of Justice, and I got the money card, I got the Assassin's Trophy, and I got the Doom Whisperer.
Oh, yeah.
And I got Tajik and a Watery Grave. So, pretty good.
Yeah, that's probably about as good as it's going to get. I mean, you're not going to get any better than that.
But, when you add it all up, and I sold these very aggressively, and I sold early, so I did lose out a little bit on the March of the Multitudes and the Pelt Collector on cost. So I lost a couple bucks there from what it actually ended up at. But all done and sold, and this isn't even, completely exact numbers. I'll get those soon, but, taking away shipping costs, taking away PayPal costs, eBay costs, I have to put that in there. It really came down to
a break even.
I basically broke even. It was about $120, a little less than that actually, probably more like $115 or so, minus everything. So, for all those cards that I sold and for the cost, and I sold this all eBay related sales, I only ended up with, $20 or less in profit.
Probably less, honestly. The eBay fees eat you up.
Yeah. So
really, the only profit you probably made was keeping the residual cards.
Exactly. I mean, that's the bonus. I get a couple dollars in profit, and I get, maybe, I don't know how many it is, 15 rares or whatever of use, and all the other, uncommons and commons.
And that brings up a really good point, too, that I think is kind of important to make. Even though we talk about, buying and selling cards and making money from cards, I think realistically, you're very seldom going to actually make a lot of money selling cards. I think you're going to hope to, if you end up making enough money to fund your hobby, I think you're about in as good a shape as you're going to get. Because the amount of time and effort that it takes to actually do that, for example, selling that whole box, you had to break it down, open every pack, which sounds super fun at first until you're sitting there doing it. And then creating the listings on eBay, selling them, putting them in envelopes, like all this stuff is very labor intensive.
Probably took me, I'm just rough estimate, maybe 2 hours of work for all of that. Maybe a little bit more, 2 to 3 hours.
I would actually anticipate it being a bit more, to be honest. But when you think about that, I mean, that's a lot of work for very little money.
So, exactly.
You could work at your local Walmart for $10 an hour, and you're going to actually probably make more money. Yeah. So it's important to understand, it's sort of a labor of love, and you get the pleasure of dealing with the cards, but you're not going to get rich doing this. It just isn't going to happen. But again, if you're realistic and you say, hey, you know what? I want to sell enough cards to fund my hobby. I want to have a box of this new set without, having to pay for it. That's the way you do it. It's just exactly what you've done.
Exactly. I think you've got to be willing to accept the loss of it, that you might not make any money out of it. You might not get many mythics or any valuable mythics. I know a friend of mine, he also bought a box. He didn't get any of those mythics. It was a total bust for him.
Yeah, you get the bad mythics.
Yeah, Scott got the bad box.
You get crapped on by the luck gods.
And like you were saying, Dev, it was, a lot of these, you're not making lots of money off these. I mean, you're really, the dollar amounts on these cards are pretty small, variations. So you're making a couple dollars here. By the time you take away fees and all this sort of stuff, you're not making real money. We're not talking big dollar items. So you're not going to make big dollar profits.
And I think you could if you're willing to do tons of work. And I think, I don't know many people that are willing to do the amount of work required to actually make a substantial amount of money at doing this, because for the sake of argument, if you did that 10 times, 10 boxes worth of stuff, for like, say 20 or 30 man hours, which is, at that point, I think maybe then you're going to actually start to be in the profitable area, just because you'll have so many other, residual.
I think that's possible. Yeah. If you're dealing in volume, you could probably pull that off.
Takes a lot of effort though,
Exactly. You're going to have to put a lot of work into that.
And then it's not fun. So
No.
But, realistically, you pop a box, you sell the contents enough that you keep the remaining contents, you make a few bucks. Time well spent.
Exactly. Hopefully you've had some fun, playing with the cards, getting these cards, the hobby aspect of it. I guess really the best case scenario would be you open some of these, you hang on to it, and some of these cards, in 5 years' time, double, triple, or more their value. And then you really make a profit on it.
Yeah, those are the surprise money makers, the weird uncommons that spike up crazy, like the kitchen finks or, things of that nature, where you're just like, wow, these are $12 now. I remember when they were 50 cents. That's how you make the money. So, you open all these boxes, you put all these cards aside, and you just wait on them until some other deck comes along that really makes them pop.
Exactly.
And, so sometimes you can make a lot more money going through your old collection, and finding cards in there that are sellable and make money that way. But
exactly. So I think of it too as an investment for the future.
Right.
Maybe you're not going to make anything on it now, but you've got the possibility, and if you're patient, to make something down the line. And you can just keep rolling that money forward, and hopefully some of these things will turn out.
Yep, that's right.
You never know.
Speaking of that, I think next episode we need to go into detail about how we're selling these cards, how we're pricing them. I think that would probably be useful information for the listener. We've been doing it for a while, so I where to sell, how to sell, and actually go through step by step briefly how it's done. And like how to sell on eBay, how to price them, how to mail them, how to ship them. The logistical aspects of selling the cards is important, just because if you're not familiar, I think that's valuable information. We'll go through that, I think.
Definitely, because we've talked a lot about selling and buying, and probably really more about buying than selling.
Yeah.
But we really need to cover that whole process in detail and get you, the listeners, started on this, for those of you who really want to give this a shot, or even if you, for the casual listener who maybe has a card or two here and there that you just want to make a couple bucks on.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're already kind of running shorter than expected on time. We're almost at a half hour in already.
Yeah.
And I know we had been thinking about talking about the arena a little bit. I know you had started to actually play a bit of that.
I have. I downloaded the arena this past weekend, and I've gone through, I don't know, maybe about 15 matches or so far. So I've got a little bit of an idea how it works, and I've played, and I got some first impressions on that. I know, Devin, you haven't had the chance yet to
I have to admit,
try it out.
Yeah, I've been lax. I have not done my due diligence.
So I'm thinking, why don't we maybe save that for next episode as well, maybe?
Maybe not a bad idea.
Another episode in between or something, just to cover arena and what our thoughts about that are. And we'll talk kind of about the gameplay and that. And I guess in a financial aspect, that really comes into play. I guess in a digital sort of sense, because we're talking now more about a digital market. We're talking about, Magic Online, the effects upon that, the effects upon where Magic goes in the future in its online status and digital status, where that kind of falls into play with games like Hearthstone and monetizing that. And, what's...
I think it's almost the whole discussion on its own. Yeah, I think it's a worthy topic of discussion. So I think maybe we'll hit that next week or the week after, depending, But I think it's worthy of dedicating an episode to.
Absolutely, I think my teaser on that is it's fun if you are if you're a beginner. I think it does a great job of explaining the game. If you're an experienced player, I'm not sure where you're going to go with it. I think you might have some fun playing, but after that, I don't know. After a couple games, I think you're going to grow weary and go back to Magic Online or back to your just card collection. But more to come.
Very good. Do you want to start maybe throwing out a few of our buy picks for the week here? I've got a couple in front of me. Yeah. Do you want to just go through maybe two? I think two and a bonus, I think.
Two and a bonus, I think, would be great for
now.
This episode.
Yeah. So my first choice for the week is one that so I'm going to probably go in order of confidence. So confidence of the ability of these cards to go up. So my first card is and I don't know how I overlooked it, but I did for a little while. But it's a card from Dominaria, and it's very familiar. Very familiar other card that's very similar to it, and it's a land card, and I think it's great in a couple of different places. It's great in a mono black deck. It's great in Commander, and it's called Cabal Stronghold.
Okay.
So the Cabal Stronghold is familiar because it's very similar to the Cabal Coffers. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Cabal Coffers, but that's the one where...
The mana doubler. Or the
doubler. Yeah, it's crazy expensive. It's in the $20 range. And but the Cabal Stronghold is essentially the identical card with an activation cost that's one higher. So Cabal Stronghold, just tapping it, produces a void mana, so it adds a colorless mana source. Alternatively, you can pay 3 and tap it, and add one black mana for each swamp you control. So if you have 4 swamps, you tap this guy, and it would produce 4 mana by itself. So the Cabal Coffers was cheaper. It was pay 2 and tap it to activate it.
Okay.
So the beauty of this little guy is his price tag. So right now, the Cabal Stronghold is 60 cents. So it's a whopping 60 cents. And so I think at 60 cents, anything probably below 75 cents, this is a buy for me. So, and it's one that I don't mind sitting on for a while either. I could see this card becoming a $3 card pretty easily in time. So that's probably my sell point. My buy point is, below 75 cents. And my sell point is around $3. And these are cards that I'd buy en masse. Like if I could find a seller that could sell me 10 of them or 20 of them, that's exactly what I would do.
Okay.
So that's my first pick for the week.
Cabal Stronghold, nice.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about Guilds of Ravnica and some of the cards in there, and we've seen some weird spikes on some of them. One I think that's going to be overlooked, but I think it's a great card, is the Omnispell Adept. It's blue card, 4 colorless, 1 blue mana. It's 3/4. The ability on this card is what really drew to me. You pay 2 colorless and a blue and tap it. You may cast an instant or sorcery card from your hand without paying its mana cost.
Ooh, that's nice.
And it's a human wizard, so it's got a wizard. It's part of the whole wizard.
Oh yeah.
Type.
Tribe.
The tribe, which is becoming seemingly more popular. We had a lot of wizards in Dominaria, and there seems to be more and more coming along.
Yeah, and there's that recent counterspell that is only 2 mana if you have a wizard in play.
Exactly, and that Wizard's Fire, which is a very strong burn, has a cost reduction if you have a wizard. So another bonus, but being able to cast an instant or sorcery without paying its cost seems amazing. I mean, some of those are, you're talking those bigger spells, 8 mana, 9 mana.
Yeah, some of those tremendous blue spells, or even those like take another turn, or all your spells are duplicated, and all this kind of stuff. So you're getting this out early. I mean, it's 5 to cast, but you can I'm sure you can get it out earlier than that. Then you're casting some giant 8 mana costing spell on turn 4 or potentially earlier. It just seems like a winner. I think that guy is destined to go up. Nice.
And right now he's sitting at 49 cents or so or less.
Yeah,
so
great.
I can't see him. I don't know. I think it's a great pick.
But yeah, I think it's kind of a neat ability, and sometimes those those odd, somewhat unique abilities that just are really great. You know, they really just
Definitely.
they shine, especially once they find a way to get broken. You know, so for example, in the next set, you know, there's some 8 mana blue sorcery spell that says, you know, something crazy like, you know, take an extra turn, or all your spells for the rest of the game are, you know, cast twice, you know.
Sure.
You know, you get all these kinds of weird ones that are very high, and they're usually big sorceries, so that may not exist in the current standard, but boy, if you found a way to make that work, you know, that'd be really neat.
And I guess this could probably work, probably maybe lend itself a little bit more toward modern or maybe commander decks, just because of the...
Yeah, because those cards, they already exist in those formats. It's just a matter of finding you know, the 5 casting cost is tough to justify, I think, for modern. But I think if you, like I said, it really just depends on what's printed next. You know, some giant, massive sorcery coming out in the next set would be enough to trigger this guy's spike.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's great. My second pick for the week is one that is great for tribal cards, and it's in the same vein as the classics, the coat of arms and the Door of Destinies and the Gauntlet of Power. Those cards all started off really, you know, in the $3-ish range, and now they're a minimum of 6 to 7, and in some cases even the high teens, like the Gauntlet of Power. But this is an Ixalan card, so I think it has the potential to go up nicely, because I don't think it was opened as much. But this card is a 5-mana artifact called Vanquishers Banner. As Vanquishers Banner enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. And this is the glory part right here, is whenever you cast a creature spell of the chosen type, draw a card.
Draw a card. Yeah.
So, you know, that's great gas for goblins or elves. You know, sometimes, again, you'll be playing these tribal decks with a goblin tribe and you stall out and you die. You know, this prevents the death stall. You know, I play a goblin, I draw a card. I played a goblin, I draw a card. Mm-hmm. You know, great. And it's now. You know, it's, you can get this card for about $3.50. And I see this one going to 6. You know, I easy, and I don't even think it'll be a too long of a wait. You know, I don't think it's going to be like a 2-year wait. But even if it is, this is one where it's like dead money. You will get paid for this card. This is just a matter of time. This is not one of those that's like, oh, maybe it'll go up. Every single card like it is higher, and in some cases not as good. So
yeah,
in some cases this is a strict upgrade, you know, but with that card draw. So you know, this card I think has some serious potential. So this is a great buy.
And I think we were talking earlier. I think historically speaking, all of these kind of cards that are similar to this, where it either promotes a certain tribe or gives a bonus to all of your creatures, they historically have all kept a relatively high value, even, you know, the older ones. And some of them have actually spiked up dramatically, like the Gauntlet of Power, Powers.
Yeah, due to reprint issues. Yeah, I mean, that coat of arms has been reprinted like 10 times, and it's still $6.
Exactly.
You know? So I think this one's just flying under the radar for some reason. I think people haven't quite realized how good it is yet.
I certainly wouldn't think it's going to drop. If anything, like you said, it's going to go up.
Yeah, I think this is easy money. Right here.
I agree. Yeah. Definitely.
You have a bonus pick for us?
We've got 2 more, don't we? Do we have?
I've already given my 2.
Okay, well, I got 2.
Oh, wait, you got 2 more.
Yeah, I got 1 more.
I'm like, moving on.
yes, I know. We're
Vanquishers Banner is
I know. It was just so good. We have to end the episode right here. My second pick is another for Guilds of Ravnica. It's Connive and Concoct. This is a split card, which I don't actually like the split mechanic, but split card aside, this card seems great. I saw it used in some of the pre-release. So people had a lot of luck with this card. I think it's definitely going to go up from its very low price tag of about 38 cents or so.
I'm seeing it 20 cents.
20 cents even. It's got, I think the bonus of this is obviously it's got 2 different cards on it. So you could cast either of these 2 different sides of it, and They're both for the Dimir Guild, and Connive lets you take control of a creature, and Concoct is probably maybe even better. It lets you surveil and then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you're dumping things into your graveyard and getting something out of it right to the battlefield.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good, and these also give you the versatility. So,
yeah,
are you in a situation where you need to take control of something? Okay, take control of it. Are you in a situation where you need to bring a creature back? Well, you can bring a creature back.
I really like that second half, that Concoct, Surveil 3, then bring a creature from the graveyard to the battlefield. It's great. And it's not even till end of turn. That creature's sticking around.
Exactly. So I think that's got a lot of potential. I could definitely see that popping up in more of these Surveil decks, any of the Dimir type decks. And,
that's a good
20 cents or 27 cents. It's going to go up. Easily, I'd say $3 card.
Yeah, it's a fun one, I think, too. So I'm not a huge fan of the split cards, but you can't fight the utility on that. It's just
exactly. At least they have that going for them.
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly right. So I do have a bonus pick for the week, and this is one of the my low cost pick that I think has potential. And I'm going back to Masters 25. I keep hitting these Masters.
You like the Masters?
I really do. More of an issue of availability, and I don't think these things are as heavily opened as regular sets, just because the darn price tag on the stupid booster is so high. But this card was originally printed in Commander 2014 as a Commander exclusive card. It's only been reprinted in Masters 25. It's made the price tank pretty dramatically. It's a blue card, and it's called Reefworm. And Reefworm does a couple of different things, and it does things that are somewhat atypical for blue. So the first thing that it does is produce tokens, which for blue is not a super common ability. And not only that, it's when it dies, it produces a bigger creature, it produces a fish, then it produces a whale, then it produces a kraken. So, we're talking 18 points of power for 4 mana with this card. And the beauty of this one is with the Masters of 25 reprinting, it's tanked the price all the way down to a quarter. So 25 cents, I think, is a deal for this boy. And I'd be stocking up on some Reefworms at 25 cents a piece. I don't know how high they're going to go, because I don't think they've found a home where they're critically necessary. But it's not a bad Commander card. It really isn't. And it's a great blocker for you. When it dies, you get bigger stuff. I think this card goes to $1, so as my bonus pick, it's like you grab a bunch of these for a quarter, and you just wait until they're $1, and you sell them as 4 ofs, and,
Yep. I remember seeing this card when it came out and thinking to myself the same thing. I'm like, I gotta get some of this card. This is a great card. But even at the time, it was more than a quarter. I
want to say initially it was like $5 or $6. It was high. Yeah.
I was like, no, I had to pass on it.
It was one of the chase cards in that blue deck that it came in. Yeah,
I had to pass on that one, and I definitely remember it.
Yep, I think it's good. It's fun. It's got a nice flavor. It produces tokens. And it's dirt cheap, so.
Oh, nice. Reefworm.
Yeah.
My bonus pick here, also from Guilds of Ravnica. I keep coming back to that. And I have some more expensive picks, but I'm going to keep everything here today on the cheaper side, is the Deafening Clarion. This is a Boros card, red-white. 1 colorless, 1 red, 1 white. And it's an option card. I think we've seen in the past that these option cards, and they've grown. I want to say they really started more. Gosh, when did they really start?
Origins, maybe? Origins, yeah.
Where we started getting multiple options on cards, and then having the ability to choose one or both. There were some restrictions on your choices. But we've seen some of those go up quite high. The Collective Brutality.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
That went up a lot. A lot of those ones from the cons. All the the commands. Dramoka's Command, and a couple of those that all had multiple choices. And I think some of those spiked pretty hard.
Yeah, they sure did. That Dramoka's Command was really great.
Because they were great. I mean, this is another thing where it's utility.
Yeah,
You can choose what option you want, and if in some cases choose all of them. So you can't go wrong with that.
This is a really nice card.
I don't think.
It's a really nice one.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the ones in the past have been more powerful maybe than this, but right now we're looking at, around $1, maybe a little less for this card. So you're doing a 3 damage to each creature, or a creature you get lifelink. So I think you can't go wrong with that.
Choose one or both, Damage 3 damage to all creatures, or all your creatures have lifelink until end of turn. Or both.
Or both.
Yeah.
I like any of these ones. I think this is another one of those categories where, cards to look for. And I'd say cards like this that give you multiple options, and all positive options for a low cost, they're winners.
Yeah, I think so. You can't go wrong with that. Again, the utility value is really high.
Exactly.
Excellent. So just to review our picks, we've had, I'll go through mine briefly. I had the Cabal Stronghold, I had the Vanquishers Banner, and I had the Reform.
And I had the Omnispell Adept, the Connive and Concoct, and the Deafening Clarion, all from Guilds of Ravnica.
Excellent.
Buy them now. They're all there, and they're pretty cheap.
They're ready for you.
They're ready and waiting. Exactly.
Very good. All right. Did you want to shut it down?
Yeah, I think we're all set. So until next time, may all your picks turn to gold. We'll see you later.
Take it easy.
See ya.